So this is conversions. We heard the term conversions a couple times, but this to me is just another term. That's a bunch of stupid marketers made up this term, and it's just a term for goal, and it's like what you actually want to achieve on your website and like what you actually want to get done. So I will specify here, it's a meaningful action that is valuable to you. It doesn't necessarily need to be a sale, so it doesn't need to be the final transaction. People have different levels of conversions, and then they weight those different conversions based on how important and how valuable it is to the business. So we're going to break this down. It should be something that is measurable and has some value, and hopefully the goal is that it will ultimately lead to some revenue generating activity, some donation, something like that as well too. And then there are many different types of conversion actions. So, sales, subscriptions, form submissions, downloads, advertising revenue, engagements, and we'll sort of break these down as well too. So again, lots of text on this slide, but just a couple examples for you, just so you can see what a conversion that you can actually consider measuring is. So like, a great one, there's a couple people with B2B in here. Like if someone comes to your site and then you have a download of a PDF and they request more information for your service or product, that's a conversion. That's really valuable. That means someone was interested, they wanted to learn more about your business, and then we're trying to set up some things in place where we can actually measure how effectively and how successfully that is actually happening. Buying something on an e-commerce site, of course, you just made money. Very exciting times. What's beautiful, it fires me up so much about e-commerce websites, is because the transaction takes place online, you actually get the revenue figure back. So like a lot of times it's really hard. There's a big disconnect in B2B or a service business because someone will call on the phone, they'll have a bunch of meetings, and then 3 months later it leads to a sale. And so there's this big gap in when that information. But with e-commerce, it's like someone just bought this for $70. And if you're, for example, doing a Google ad, you know that you paid $2 for the click and someone bought $78. You just got a great return on investment. So there's something really beautiful about bringing in as many transactions online as you possibly can. And just see if there's anything else here to touch on. There's also lower levels, like if someone's returning to your site several times or they're spending a bunch of time on your page, that's still a sign that you're doing something right, and it might be something that you want to measure. And we'll, in this first part here, just we'll set this up, and then I'll show you how you can actually set up how to measure this online with Google as well too. So this is what we talked about a little bit, conversion rate, the percentage of users who take a desired action. So the percentage of website visitors who buy something on your site, so that's again, 100 people come to your site, only one person buys something, that's a 1% conversion rate. So generally, they say the worldwide average is 2 to 3%. That's, I don't know, different industries, just seems like a very generic number to throw out. And I've seen multiple different ranges depending on how people are advertising and then what sector they're actually in as well too. So this is beautiful. It's the conversion value. So there's actually a formula. I think I've got the formula. Yes, I do. Good. You can use this to calculate basically how profitable your advertising is. So generally, that's what I see. Everyone who spends money on marketing, they say, how much money did I get back? How much money did I make? I spent $100, how much money did I make? And so you can start to understand using this formula a little bit about how much you should be spending on advertising to actually get basically the money that you want back in terms of revenue. And if you're going above that, you're advertising profitably. And if you're going below that, you're advertising profitably. And if you're going above that, you could be losing money on a sale. So that's something to consider. So the average deal, how much revenue do you collect on an average sale? The closing rate. So for example, if you're on a phone and someone, you get 5 phone calls, or I'll make this simple, 10 phone calls, and you get 2 sales, 20% conversion rate, 20% close rate, something to consider, because every lead is going to cost you something. And then you're also going to try to build in your profit margin, basically, so the percentage of revenue that is actually profit. And so you can see this equation to break it down a little bit. Average deal revenue is $3,000. Profit margin is 45%, and then leads that convert to a deal. So you can do a little bit of math here. And then if you are basically $270 is your break-even point. So if you're going above, below, what it's actually worth to you. So what's beautiful again is e-commerce. You can start to understand those numbers, or if you get contact form submissions, you can start to basically assign that value to it, and it becomes really easy to sort of measure to see if you're sort of on pace for what you're trying to do.